Welcome to the High Value Sales Show of Eversprint.com. I'm Malcolm Louie, the managing member of Eversprint, and today we're speaking with Angie Nelson and Hillary Smith, the partners at Koncept Events, a global destination services, site selection, meeting planning, and brand marketing firm. Welcome to the call, Angie and Hillary.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
You both grew your company's revenue from $6 million in 2014 to $11.4 million in 2017, an 89% increase, and in 2018, you hit around $15.6 million. Before we talk about how you grew your company so fast, can you briefly share what your company does beyond my quick intro and how your company differs from the competition?
Sure, I can field that. So our company is a destination management company by trade. And so what that means is that we organize or help organize corporations execute sales incentives, product launches, national sales meetings, and any corporate function. Most of our clients are Fortune 500, Fortune 100, and the services that we offer are airport transportation to and from the hotel. We do registration services, hotel sourcing, and contract negotiations. We also do event design and decor for any on-property events. We contract off-site venues. We do yacht charters, tours, excursions, activities, and kind of anything in between. Our bread and butter is really the design and the experiential side.
Fantastic. And how would you differ from the other companies that might offer similar services?
Well, the level of creative with our company is completely different. Also, our process is more collaborative. We are a thorough thinking company from the front end, and so I think it allows us to get deeper into each of our clients' brands from the beginning. It's something that we keep near and dear to our heart. Plus, a lot of companies that are like ours are kind of limited and rooted in one specific area, and our company has the ability to travel throughout the United States and the Caribbean, which gives us a fresh perspective wherever we travel, as well as the consistency to use the experience that we had with our client on the last program to invest that into this program, which makes the planning process that much easier and our involvement that much more impactful.
Right. Now, you mentioned earlier that your company helps the Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies, so it sounds like you really work on fairly large events. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. They can be smaller events per board of directors, but a lot of those smaller events are high touch and very complex. But our average size group is around 400 to 500 people.
Right. Yeah, that does sound like a pretty big event. And how long do these events typically last?
Anywhere from 2 nights to 5 nights.
Right. And how long do you typically require to plan a 5-night event in advance, in terms of advance notice?
Angie?
We would love to have as much leeway time as possible, but unfortunately some of the timelines that are given to us by our clients can be short in nature. So, it's not really about how much time it takes us to do it. It's the same amount of work. We have to get the same amount of work sometimes done within a week that maybe sometimes we have 6 months to do, which is unfortunate but true in the industry that we're in. Some planners just aren't able to give enough leeway. And so our team sometimes has a long window of planning, and then sometimes we just, we make it happen and we scramble to get the job done and under the deadline.
Right. Now, you grew your company from $6 million in 2014, and then 4 years later, you hit around $15.6 million in gross revenues. Can you share what were the 3 biggest drivers of your sales growth over these past 4 years?
I can share one, which would be account penetration, as we like to call it, which is basically you start with one event with a client, and then the trust and the familiarity grows, and so it spreads within the organization to another planner, to another event, to several events. And so we work more with master service agreements with one organization or one brand and do multi-events with them in a year, which has really impacted our bottom line.
One of the other drivers has been our focus on our brand and who we are as a company, and getting that brand out into the marketplace and our name becoming much more recognizable, not only within our local market, but within the United States as well. And specifically in our local market, a lot of the hotel partners that we do a lot of programs with that host these clients in their hotels have grown to know the consistency of our product, the consistency of our process, and what we're able to deliver. Know that they know that when they can recommend Koncept Events to their Fortune 100 and 500 clients that are coming into their hotels, that they can trust that we're going to deliver to them the same experience that we've delivered to all the previous clients. And they know that our brand is solid, our product is solid, and they can trust us. And so that comes with more and more referrals over the years. And so therefore that's been helped with our growth.
Now, do you see that as a third driver or part of the second one, focusing on your brand?
I think that two different things, because as Hillary was saying, that is what we have two different models in a way. We have direct to the client, which means we go direct to the corporate planner themselves who are, working within their corporation and are looking for event companies across the U.S. And we go direct to them to get their business. Whereas another revenue stream for us is a hotel referral. So that client might go to a hotel and say, hey, who are the event partners within your region? And that hotel partner then recommends our services. So we have to be really good at both because it's two different sets of revenue streams.
Okay. So for the drivers, I have 1, account penetration, 2, focusing on your brand, getting the word out. And is there a third driver, or did you already mention a third driver among our conversation so far?
No, I would say that the third driver would be the team and the diversity that we've created within our organization. Another thing that separates us from competition is that we are very much a do-it-ourself company. So we have an 11,000 square foot warehouse with floral production, and we have an entire inventory of event furniture and decor that we are able to lean on in order to maximize what we are putting out. And so because that has created efficiencies within our organization, we're able to take on more projects, which has been able to expand our bandwidth.
Okay, cool. Very fantastic. Now, can we talk a little bit more about each of the 3 drivers you shared? The 3 drivers I have, just to make sure we're on the same page: 1, account penetration; 2, focus on your brand and getting your brand out there; and 3, your team and the diversity of your team. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So in terms of account penetration, you said that a huge driver of your growth is getting a lot more repeat business within a client. How proactive are you in terms of getting more repeat business within a client and connecting yourself with the other planners within the organization so that you can help them?
Once we have a track record or have had a successful event, from a sales perspective, what we do is we use that in order to incent them to do more volume with us. So right after the first event is successful, our sales team is being persistent and reaching out. We have an entire document that we send of different concessions and give backs to them, value adds that are based on the volume of business that they book with us. We also then initiate for in-person presentations so that we can get a group of planners from the organization more exposed to our brand, and then we follow up accordingly within that in order to get that solidified. So we're looking ahead and kind of narrowing the scope of question marks and understanding what their event calendar entails and when we might be a good fit.
Right. Now, how do you find out who the other event planners are within the organization?
Well, we ask. So, from a sales perspective, it's the salesperson's job to dissect that information, to extract it, to get their hands on their contact information, and then to position it from almost like an internal referral. So we use the planner who just had a great relationship with us and a successful event. We use that as the in or the third-party validation in order to get that other information, and then we use that to basically make the intro.
Okay. So in your experience with working these big companies that have lots of planners within the firms, they're fairly open toward referring you to other planners who might be in an entirely different department, or does it take a bit of Google foo to research them and find out who they are?
Once they've worked with us, there's a relationship that's developed there, and there's a comfort level, and so they're happy to share our information internally. If it's a client that maybe we haven't worked with or they haven't seen us execute, then they're less likely to refer us internally, and they're more so really ambiguous about who the other people are in their department are. But we've had corporations that'll send us their entire roster after we've done an event with them because they want to share, something good with their team as well.
Definitely. Now, the other event planners typically for your clients, are they still in the in the same city and locale of the event planner you work with, or might they be across the nation or maybe around the world?
All of the above. It really depends. I mean, there's so much of the commuting that's happening now, people going into offices, working from home. And so some of our clients are concentrated in the Northeast and in offices in New York and Boston, and then other clients are scattered all over the country.
Right. Okay.
Within the same department.
Now, how do you go about finding new accounts?
Well, to Angie's point, a lot of our hotel vendors are kind of the vehicle for that. So we already know that these clients are bringing groups to areas that we do business. And so we use the hotel to get us that soft intro and versus us just cold calling. But we do cold call. We're also members of a lot of industry associations and different groups where our clients would be. And so we have board positions within that. We are sponsors for the larger events in order to gain exposure.
Right. Okay. Now your target contact at these Fortune 100, Fortune 500 firms are typically the event planners, or or do you target their bosses, their supervisors?
No, it's really the corporate event planners, marketing professionals, anyone who is handling external communications for the company can sometimes get involved as well because of the conference messaging piece of it. So it's usually a collaboration between the event planner, the marketing department, and communications.
Okay. Now, I understand on occasion sometimes firms might not have a dedicated event planner. Maybe at the Fortune 100, 500 they do, but sometimes other people might get roped into it and they might not necessarily have the event planner title in them. How do you find those people?
That is a little bit of a game of Google, and we love LinkedIn, and there's a tree of trying to find them. And it's also about them being able to find us through our social media and internet marketing techniques.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
I was going to say a lot of those types of people find us before we're able to find them. And a lot of times, an executive assistant or someone within the sales department at a company will be the ones who are kind of tasked with, go plan an event. Hey, we want to incentivize all of these salespeople. Can you go figure that out? And they don't really know where to turn. And so that's why we have to be diligent on our SEO and marketing efforts and social media to make sure that those types of planners who don't necessarily don't live in our world and don't know the right resources or the organizations or some of the names of the types of companies that they don't know what to look for. And so they start Googling and they hopefully will find us.
Right. Yeah. I saw that you have a bit of a web presence from an SEO perspective. From my preliminary research, I see that you're ranked for like 128 keywords, which is nice.
We have a pretty awesome director of marketing.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. SEO is fantastic. It's always best to have people who are interested finding you and asking you for help. That's like the next best thing to a warm referral.
Absolutely.
For your second driver, focusing on your brand. Now, we talked a little bit about this already in terms of the SEO and social media. Can you elaborate a bit more about how those two come into play for getting your brand out there?
Sure. We have coined what we call the KE experience. And what that means to us is it's basically taking our product and what we're selling to our clients and wrapping it up into a lovely little package that they get delivered consistently time over time whenever they're working with us. The KE experience is delivered first as the relationship grows between our salesperson and the client. And it's carried through the gathering of information, the developing of proposal, the fleshing out and brainstorming of ideas and everything that we're going to do for that client and we're able to produce for them through the pricing, through the contracting phase, the turnover from sales to operations, that smooth transition of the people that are actually going to execute the event and make all of these awesome plans come to life and to fruition. And then all the way through to actually on-site execution, making it all beautiful and happen through the billing process. We consider that to be the KE experience. We love to take stock in all of the various employees that we have working with our team and their particular piece of that experience, making sure that it's enjoyable, that it's fun, that it's thorough and transparent, and that our clients know what they're getting from start to finish. And if we're able to really hone in and develop a process that is consistent every single time, no matter how small or large the program, no matter what industry the client is coming from, no matter what hotel or city, they're going to get the same KE experience every time. And so we've taken a lot of pride in being consistent with that process. And the consistency is something that we feel has been noticed over the years. The local hotel partners in our area see that no matter what, when Koncept Events is in their hotel producing an event, they know it's going to be high quality work. And they can trust that we're going to be respectful and courteous and professional. We're going to be creative. We're going to be out of the box thinkers. We're going to do something cool and outrageous that people are going to be wanting to write home about. And they see that time and time and time again. And because of that growing over the years, we've developed an amazing relationship in our local marketplace to be the tried and true event partner that you can go to and rely on for delivering these amazing event experiences.
Right. Now, how do you let other people know about your reputation? I know you do, can you talk a little bit more about the SEO work that you're doing and your social media work that you're doing so people can be made aware of your KE experience?
Hillary, do you want to take that one?
Yes, although I'm not super duper versed in SEO. It's kind of a little bit out of my league. What I can tell you is that we use our awards and we use our partnerships and we elevate those and we, splatter them all over the internet as much as we can. We use a lot of keywords. We use a lot of those ads that basically steal from other people. So if they're searching for any of our competitors, we have those ads that are called conquest ads. And so we get a lot of leads from that. But a lot of the organizations we're part of give us a little bit of an advantage of pools of people that we can target.
Right. Yeah, we attend, all of those organizations that we mentioned that, we're involved in a lot of industry organizations. They all have a conference. They all have, some sort of membership component where, events and trade shows and things that we can attend. And we make sure that we have a nice presence at all of those and spend some sales and marketing dollars there for that in-person communication and connection.
Right. How about advertising outside of the internet? Do you do advertising in print and TV and radio?
No, it really is too broad. Our client is so specialized that we haven't really found big value in that. We've done ads in industry publications and magazines, and that's great, but we haven't seen any tangible results or leads generated from that. We've done a lot of sponsorships at conferences, and I would tell you that that's been a really big driver for us, doing trade shows and sponsoring, a beautiful welcome reception or a gifting suite or something like that. That's been really impactful. But additionally, I think that we have a really unique social media platform as far as it relates to our competitors. And so I just think it's consistently putting out really creative, fun content that speaks to our clients' likes and the world that we live in.
Sure. Can you give an example of the social media content you have out there and which channel it's being published?
Sure. So I think, Instagram is a lot of fun. For a long time, because we travel all over and that's unique to our company versus a lot of our competitors, we used our KE Aqua Blue bag and we would take that KE Aqua bag with us all over the world and we would take photographs of it, kind of like the Travelocity Gnome, and we would take photos of it in all different locations so that we could tell our clients where we were going and all the different fun things that we were doing. It was also an opportunity for the clients to then look for where we are. And so we would do raffles and contests of people who could, name that place. And so we tried to get a little bit more interactive engagement with that. We also do a lot of team pictures. And so a lot of engagement. We have a big culture and department and a whole team that leads that here. And so behind the scene pictures, internal things, there's a lot of that's on there. We do a lot of event videos, how-tos, like how to put together a centerpiece or getting into the sustainability world. And so there's a lot of feel-good give back to what we're putting out as well. I think that's generated a jump in our audience.
Right. Now, are you able to share any snippets of the fantastic times that your clients' employees are having at the events you're putting together?
No, No, that's actually one of our challenges, and why we aren't like a 20 award-winning company is because most of our clients have clauses within our contracts that say that we can't use their name, use their logo, or take any photos of any live events. So it's actually a really tough thing for event companies to get those events and to get that permission in order to be able to put it out there on social media. And I hate to dig all the way back to the financial crisis, but there's a big perception thing out there, and so a lot of people don't want to know what these corporations are spending because it can be spun in such a negative light.
Right. Yeah. I can understand that. So,
but there are certain, we love drone footage, and we love to hire a nice videographer or photographer. And when we have a client that allows us to use those images, we absolutely jump on the chance, because it's always fun to be able to, put out some photos that don't have any brand recognition of the client that paid for it. That might just be a really lovely shot on the beach, or a lovely shot on the, on the whatever ballroom it is, or, whatever location is the event. And when we're able to use those, we absolutely take advantage of that, so that we can post some of the amazing venues that we work in, and some of the design work that our team creates.
Yeah, I imagine some of the events that you guys have done are pretty amazing. For the hotel partners, how do you build your brand among them, especially those who haven't worked with you yet?
It's grassroots. I mean, that is like boots on the ground. It's fortunately or unfortunately, I would tell you that the hotels are the toughest clients. And it's because everyone is bombarded with the same people who are bringing you donuts and bringing you, pizza and organizing happy hours and all of that. And so with each individual person, with the conference service teams and even the hotel sales teams and the global sales offices, it's all about relationships, and it's all about proven track record in operations, consistency of event execution, and then, how are we showing up and enhancing their site visits, and how are we helping them sell their product? I think it's really important for them to know that we're invested in getting these clients to have an amazing, full circle opportunity or experience at the hotel, but then also come back and repeat. And they know that by choosing the right partners, we're all in it together, and we're all going to get them to come back. So we visit hotels all the time. Our salespeople are constantly in their faces trying to drum up leads. We participate in external sales missions into different markets. We collaborate in industry conventions to do sponsorships that would highlight the destination. And there's a lot of FAM trips, which is a familiarization trip. When there's VIP clients, we're always the first to jump in and help out and help represent our brand and whatever our hotel partner wants us to do.
Right. All right. Now, how about for number 3, team and diversity of the team? Can you share a little bit about how the diversity of your team has been a driver of your sales growth?
Hillary, you want me to take that one?
Please.
Yeah. So over when we first started as a DMC, back when it was just Hillary and I out of our living room, we really didn't dream. It was hard for us to dream how many different types of people we were going to need to be at the level that we are now. And over the years, we've developed different departments. We've segmented sections of that KE experience that we were discussing into different departments. And so, we have sales, we have what we call gurus, and which is more, entry level. Those are the people that are just, fresh out of college, have minimal experience, and they want to get their feet wet in the event industry. Well, we have a place for them, and we hope that they learn our business from the ground up so that they can grow with us in their careers. And then we identified that really because we've become so focused on our creative product, our event designs and the events that we produce, that we really needed people that aren't just knowledgeable in events, but knowledgeable in design, in interior design, in knowing what kind of fabrics and colors and textures go together, knowing the floral product that's out there and the wide world of that exists that you have to have an eye for, you have to have a knack for. Not everyone can just design a beautiful event because everyone has, different tastes. But we identified a few years ago that we should really be focusing not just hiring event professionals, but hiring design professionals that we can teach them the event side so that we can take advantage of their skill set that might not exist in the typical event world, but exist in maybe home interior design, and they're really keen at making beautiful spaces come to life. And so that's been one of the key changes in our business model over the last few years that has really set ourselves apart, because the designs that we're able to produce because of these professionals are just outrageous and over the top and amazing, and just knock everybody's socks off because of how beautiful they are. We, of course, are looking for very dynamic professionals to execute these events, people that have been doing it for a long time, that are cool and calm under pressure, that have the right mentality to just, carry on through the face of adversity or challenges that might arise, and then everywhere in between. And so we have a very diverse team that everybody has their own niche in the marketplace. We have some people that come from the festival world and know a lot about festivals. We have a lot of people that have only worked in a hotel, so they know hotel operations inside and out. Other people that have worked with vendor solutions, maybe they only ever rented linens. And so we have a wide variety of people within our business that really help us create these amazing event experiences for our clients.
Now, you mentioned the word festival, which, as timely as it may be, I actually watched the Fire documentary on Netflix crazy. Last night.
Yeah, me too. I watched it last night too, and I was horrified.
Yeah. Now, I thought the concept that they were putting together was fantastic, but in my mind, the problem that they faced was that they just should have brought in professionals to execute it, and they should have given themselves a lot more lead time. Like, say someone had sold an event like they did, with that kind of theme vision that they had. How much lead time would you guys have needed to put it together?
That particular event, 2 years, I would say. And the reason is because of the infrastructure needed for that island, and more so the Bohemian channels of government, and just making sure that what was being proposed was actually feasible. I think that the timeline for decision making and really understanding and having a country like the Bahamas adopt anything like that concept, which I agree was amazing, minimum 2 years, minimum.
Yeah, after I watched the documentary, I was saying it's such a shame that they didn't pull it off, because it would have been an amazing event.
Yeah.
So now, how about for 2019? What are your plans for 2019?
I mean, growth. I mean, I think that, on a surface level, the last couple of years we've been working on perfecting the sauce, so to speak. We've been really looking under the hood and making sure, to Angie's point, that our KE experience is perfected. I think this year we're ready for a little bit more of explosive growth, but at the same time, healthy growth. And so we're growing organically through our master service agreement arrangements with the corporations. And then we've hired a couple of new sales individuals who are going to go after sort of the second tier of business and a little bit more of our needs period, because as an event company, it ebbs and flows. And while our year is pretty consistent, there are months where we need to fill some gaps. And so I think we're focusing on a little bit of a more holistic approach in that regard. Angie, anything to add?
Yeah, there are lots of markets that we dabble in, and we obviously have an office in South Florida, and we do a lot of events in South Florida, but there are other markets, for example, Orlando, that we really want to tackle and kind of get in there and more so and become more of a competitive edge within other marketplaces. We feel that we can take our business anywhere, and so there are some growth opportunities there as well, not just in numbers, but in geography.
So when you look to grow your business, are you looking to expand it from a geographic perspective, city by city, and targeting the companies and hotels that are there? Or do you look at it from, okay, we've done these companies on the Fortune 100, we're not working with these, let's go focus on these companies now?
It's a mix of both.
Yeah.
Okay. And then earlier, just now, you mentioned looking at second-tier opportunities. What do you mean by second tier?
So, in the beginning of the conversation, we mentioned our meeting planning department. And so the meeting planning department has evolved over the last few years and really started producing some very exciting event opportunities for us. And so taking those clients that, as Angie had mentioned, maybe the executive assistant is the event planner, And looking at a little bit more of those opportunities and growing them is what we would maybe consider to be second tier, because there's more meat on the bone for those specific events, because they're not just looking for DMC services. They're looking for a full service solution. And so those full service solutions aren't usually the Fortune 500, Fortune 100. They're maybe, the top window producer or manufacturer in the world, but they're not necessarily, on the NASDAQ. And so those companies there's a very big need for those companies to elevate their experiences and to align with corporations like ours that can help them kind of as a soup to nuts turnkey solution. And so those are really exciting things for us to focus on for 2019.
Right. And I can imagine when an executive assistant gets thrown into the frying pan to, arrange our year-end holiday bash. They're going to be really keen on finding someone who can help them do all of it, right? As opposed to maybe a bigger company that might already have their vendor list and might want to slice it up a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. True. Very true.
Now, how will you go about finding these executive assistant second-tier opportunities?
I think one of the main funnels for us for those is the hotel partners, because these executive assistants are going into the hotels and they're conducting site visits and planning visits, and these hoteliers get a sense for the seniority or the experience level of these planners. And so when they sense that maybe they need a little bit more help than some of their other corporate planners, that's when they will share our information and basically say, hey, listen, we've got a company that can help you, in these areas and these areas, and usually the relationship starts there.
So when a hotel refers someone like that to you, their interest is getting an event at their hotel, or do you have a formal revenue share or fee arrangement to compensate them for the referral?
No, those referrals are more because they want a sound event executed at their hotel. They know just as well as we know that it's going to be an uphill battle and that potentially it could be a disaster if this executive assistant isn't provided with the right resource to help guide them along. And so I think we're not typically compensated on that level from the hotel for those types of referrals, but I think it's more just them advocating for wanting to have really well executed events within their hotel to potentially repeat the business for themselves.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of your revenue targets for 2019, can you share those? Share what your target is for growth on a revenue perspective?
Well, our target for 2018 was around 12 million, and we did almost 16. And so for us, we really only want to really grow it. We're kind of being conservative, I guess, because I think 18 just exploded for us, which was a nice surprise, but I don't think any of us were really expecting it. We have only set our revenue target for this year for 17.5 million, which is a lot. Is a lot. And so for us, if we were to grow to 17.5, we would be thrilled.
Right. Now, of the $16 million business you did last year, roughly speaking, how much of that will come back to you right away in 2019?
And repeat?
I mean, it depends, because it would be really nice to say, if we did a great job on all those programs and we should, feasibly be able to rely on that revenue the following year. And unfortunately, some of those meetings go East Coast, West Coast, and the clients, or they're every 18 months, or they're every 2 years are those events. So I think it's particularly hard to just guarantee any of that. Because of just kind of outside factors that would just affect our ability to just like slam dunk it year after year.
Right.
But I would say if you were going to put a percentage on it, it's probably 15 to 20% is that we can count on that event is always at that hotel, or has been for the last several years, that we know we're going to, we did a great job and we're going to get that back. And so there is a little bit of that we can count on. It's just not a large majority, unfortunately.
Right. Okay, so the other 80% will come from your team just working your existing clients to find other event planners there who can do work with, working your contacts with the hotels and trying to be top of mind with them when they have an event that you can help them with, right? Okay.
Yep. Exactly.
So how much of your business is like entirely new as opposed to new events for a different business unit of an existing client?
What do you think, Angie? Maybe 20,
I know,
25%?
Entirely new?
Yeah, never did business with them ever before.
I'd say it's a little bit more than that, Hill. I would say it's more maybe like 30% is probably all new, never done anything with them before. And then the rest of it, we may have not worked with them in the previous year, but maybe 2 years ago when they were here, we worked with them. You know, the East Coast, West Coast thing. Maybe they were in California last year, but 2 years ago they were here and now they're coming back. And so we might get them back. But totally, entirely new, I'd say maybe 20 to 30%.
Right. So when a company has like a East Coast, West Coast type arrangement for their events, you know, and then they come back to the East Coast and, you know, do they oftentimes call you guys first to do it, or it's more of a maybe, or you might be called back, but then there are others that they've also called back?
Well, hopefully they had an amazing, sorry, Hel. Hopefully they had an amazing experience with us and can't, you know, are salivating at the chance to work with us again.
Right.
You know, that's the goal. What were you going to say, Hillary?
That is the goal.
Yeah.
The unfortunate reality is that a lot of corporations have regulations and requirements that force them to take 3 bids. And so regardless of how amazing we have our relationship or how deep the roots of our relationship go, they're required to do a 3-bid process. And in that regard, you know, we always want to be competitive because we're like honest people and we want to give them the most value. But at the same time, you know, we have all of the experience of having lived that program maybe once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times, but then they're still bidding it out. And so those are the clients that we maybe don't have those MSA agreements with, because that's just not the direction that they go with their event planning. But it's definitely a mix of clients who would just definitely work with us. It's not a bidding situation. We're locked and loaded. And then the clients who unfortunately have to bid it out, regardless of or not.
Right.
And sometimes that bidding situation is even more difficult because it goes through procurement. And procurement doesn't have, you know, they don't have a good read on creativity. And they're just looking at dollar for dollar, the comparison of, you know, widgets per se. And so how much is this and how much is that? And it's really hard when you work in a creative industry like that we do to compare us to another company just dollar to dollar, because it's not always apples to apples in that regard. And so when we know that we're in a situation in which the meeting planner loves us and really wants to work with us, but we know that her hands are tied and she's going to send us through the procurement system because that's what her company mandates, we always kind of bite our nails because we might not always be the cheapest, and but we always give a lot of value, and that's not always transferable in a procurement process.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're focused on all the quantifiable things, right? More than anything else. So,
yeah.
Now, when you do work on these events for the Fortune 100, Fortune 500 company, how many different touch points within a company do you have to work with and involve to get a deal, an event signed and won? There's more than just the one meeting planner, it sounds like.
Sometimes. Go ahead, Hel. Yeah, it depends.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes really, I would say more often than not, it is that one person because they're managing the steering committee and the stakeholders and all the different regional directors and whatnot. We're not necessarily in communication with any of them. And then there are other situations where we have a different point of contact for each service that we are providing. So there's one contact dedicated from their team to transportation, one contact dedicated to tourist excursions, one contact for the welcome reception, one contact for registration. And so it varies vastly based on the resources, the size and scope of the conference, and really just what they need.
Right. So when you work, I mean, these projects, these events that you've described to me, I mean, they sound pretty expensive, right? 6 or 7, maybe even 8 digits on occasion, right? For the cost of the event. Mm-hmm. And correct me if I'm wrong, if my range is wrong. But no, the planners that you work with, they have the authority to say, yeah, this sounds good, and they can just sign it right on the spot, or do they have to take it back to yet another committee for approval?
A lot of times they'll have what's called an internal stakeholder. So a lot of corporations are set up as such. Maybe they have a regional sales team, and that regional team has some sort of education component, a sales kickoff of the year. And they want to bring all their salespeople together, and they have, programming and whatnot that they need to do, education component to the trip itself. And then they go to their company's marketing department or meetings and events department, And then they are assigned to a contact within that department, which then ends up being our contact. So a lot of times when our client will say, well, I have to take this back to the internal stakeholder or the decision maker. The decision maker might not be the CEO of the company. Maybe it's the representative for that division or that piece of the company that's holding this particular meeting or incentive trip. So they almost act like the middleman.
Right.
So we don't ever really meet the end client per se, even though they all work for the same company. Our client is only really that meeting planner, but then they're taking the information back to whoever their internal client is, and that's who they're answering to.
Right. And do you also sell to them? Do you market to them? Do you engage them to help them with the decision of whether or not to move ahead, or that's totally separate and you rarely ever get a chance to speak with that individual?
I'd say it's rare that we ever get to speak with that individual. That's not someone that really we get introduced to in most situations.
Okay.
I would say that in the meeting planning side, it's different. That would be the only time that I would say it's that I've experienced a different level of inclusiveness to where we're really an extension of their brand and their team. And in that regard, we usually get direct communication with them at the small, conference roundtable, whatever, because we are adding a lot of value as it relates to the experience as a whole. And so the messaging and the vision, we get to hear directly from the people who are creating it.
Right. This is beyond just an event planner that has a project, right? That's when you are the event planner for a company.
Correct. Yes. Correct.
Okay. Got it. So what do you foresee are your biggest specific marketing and sales challenges that you have in mind that you need to overcome to hit your target of 2019?
If I'll share one, Angie, and then you can take over. Mm-hmm. So I think from where I sit, most of our competition is a franchise model based company. And so they have global sales reps all over the country repping their brands. They have other offices all over the country promoting their brands. And so they cross-pollinate, so to speak. And so if you worked with ABC in California, then they would automatically refer you to ABC in Florida, who would be our competition. And so Koncept Events just doesn't really adopt that same mentality or that same business model. And so for us, it makes us kind of a quiet voice in a loud room because we don't have all those external resources that are driving business to us. So I do think that sets us up a little bit for a harder sales process because we just don't have all of that visibility. And a lot of our competition does. Now, the one thing I will say is that doesn't mean that they have a consistent product and, where our KE experience is consistent here and what we deliver anywhere is consistent. But at the time that these planners are sending these RFPs out or are looking for companies in other cities, that's not what they're just thinking that it's the same brand. And so like McDonald's, they're going to get the same experience. But unfortunately, that's just not the case.
Right. Mm-hmm. You have to learn the hard way when it's not the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Angie, did you have an idea in terms of marketing and sales challenges that you need to overcome?
No, I think it's the same every year. It's not necessarily different this year than it ever has been in years past. It's economic, what's going on in the world around us, the political climate of the world that we're in, is there the economic downturn? Unfortunately, our industry is really susceptible. If we were to have another, economic downturn, a lot of times companies, the first thing they're going to cut out of their budget is their meetings or incentive trips, things like that are kind of expendable in their view. And so we're susceptible to that. And so that's always a risk that we have to weigh. Hillary and I started our company in the end of 2007, the beginning of 2008, when the market crashed, when all of that happened. And so we kind of took advantage of the crash at that time because we were the two of us, we had no overhead. We had no, nothing to lose, so to speak. And so we took advantage of it, and that's where we grew our company. But now we're a little bit more established. Our clientele is a little bit more established. We have a lot more to lose in this day and age than we did, 11, 12 years ago. So, that's always a risk, and that's something that we always, grapple with, that we don't have a lot of control over, but we need to be able to roll with the punches. We have to make sure that our clientele is diversified, that we're not just, all of our clients are in one industry in particular. We need to have, clients in banking and finance, but we need to have clients in, retail and IT and lots of other industries, so that if there's one industry that might be hit more than another, that we're still diversified and not susceptible. Putting all of our eggs in one basket, we need to make sure we're covered in that regard.
Right, exactly. So how many different industries are you doing work in now? And how many different ones would you like to be working in?
Oh, gosh.
I know, that's a hard question.
I mean, I think we're incredibly diversified.
Yeah.
I think one of the areas that we glamorize a lot is like the tech industry and consumer products. I think a lot of our roots from the beginning of this company were based around brand marketing. And so Angie and I really enjoyed doing more consumer-focused and based events. And so I think that if we could dream up an opportunity to do more of those, that would be a lot of fun and would be a welcome to change for us. We used to do a lot of road shows, and that was actually a challenge. It was fun, and it was different, and it was just a great fit for our skill set. So I think for those things, that would be great to focus a little bit more on the brand marketing side.
Right. Okay. Now, a few final questions for you. So imagine a freeway in the Florida area that's moving well, not during rush hour, and you've decided to go put a billboard up along the freeway. The freeway is moving along quite fast. Typically, people only have 6 seconds to see and read and digest the message on the billboard. What is your 6-second billboard message?
We do events way better than everyone else.
Okay.
Angie?
I could have guessed you were going to say something like that. Gosh, I don't know. Something to the effect of, let us bring your brand to, well, no, gosh, I'm not good at this. I'm not in sales and I'm not in marketing for a reason. Something more about, something like, eye-catching in the fact of, we're really good at this. You should let us be your partner in that.
Right. Okay. Awesome. 2 last questions. Who are your ideal clients, and what's the best way for them to reach you and your team?
Our ideal clients are corporate event planners at Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies. So it's the planner who is planning the incentives, the highest level president's clubs, chairman's councils. Those types of planners typically align best with our corporation. A lot in financial, a lot in insurance. There is some in the tech world, but we do across any brand. So any client looking to use destination management services in the United States, that would be our client. They can reach us at www.conceptevents.com. They can follow us on Instagram at Koncept Events, or on Facebook, KonceptEvents.com. And we would absolutely love to participate in their RFP bidding processes and learn more about what their vision for their meetings and events is.
Thanks so much for joining us today and sharing how you both accelerated your company's high-value sales.
Thank you so much. It's been really fun to talk about it and share our successes with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you for your interest. Thank you.
Absolutely.
You're welcome, and I've enjoyed our conversation as well. We've been speaking with Angie Nelson and Hillary Smith, the partners at Koncept Events, about their company's rapid growth. For interviews with other fast-growing, high-value sales companies, or to learn how we can accelerate your firm's high-value sales through automation, visit Eversprint.com.